Previously on Work to Game. It's all professional. We're getting there. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you are here and you haven't subscribed, let us know why.
Because it would be important that you're subscribed because it's time for another community feedback.
Community feedback, and the wheel has spun. And welcome everybody to Work to Game and to community feedback. It's fantastic. We have these on the wheel. Today we're going to be diving into your comments and talking more about the relic systems within Bozja, within everything the game has to offer. I just got my relic. I'm working on my glowy, and it's time to kind of revisit this and see what you guys had to say. Thanks, Maria, for hitting that subscribe button and following us here at Work to Game. I just got the live notification. Be sure to be like Maria and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's have some fun. But before we dive in, I do want to say we're going to hijack the wheel. And on Thursday, our topic is actually going to be our impressions of WoW as it exists in pre-patch. If you guys aren't aware, I am new to this whole WoW experience. Chris is my Sherpa, and we kind of figure like once we get around to level 25, we'd sit down and kind of talk about the initial impressions about the game and our experiences with it. So hopefully you guys enjoy that discussion that's going to be on Thursday. So note that we're not going to be spinning the wheel today. We're hijacking it. We're hacking it. And that's going to be what we do. Chris, before we dive into the comments, how is it going, dude? How's your week?
It's going good. I would like to say people should come stop by stream. We've been playing it a little bit, a couple of our streams a week, and Brian's been playing it with a controller. So it's getting a ton of questions from people stopping by that are WoW players. Like, how does controller work on this game? How do you even play an MMO with controller? So
I literally just got a comment. They're like, I don't think WoW's going to add controller support. I'm like,
and it's native. He's playing with it native.
Yeah.
Not an add-on for those of you that maybe have heard of WoW having controller support in the past due to like third-party stuff. No, this is built in. Kind of like it is native, but they've hidden it away behind console commands because it's not necessarily ready for prime time. Brian's taking it to prime time regardless.
It's like gaming, kinda.
And so now you know where that name came from.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say a big thanks to our subscribers and members. I looked through this whole comment section. There seemed to be a theme of a couple of different comments, and so I grabbed ones from subscribers first. And then we do have one non-subscriber comment.
All right, let's dive into our comments. First, Lord Hawkeye, or Hawkeye, I don't know. I can't read people. You know it if you've been here any amount of time. No, we don't need more ridiculous grinds like the past. Next question.
With the opposite.
We're starting with the opposite?
Yeah, you started with 8.
Oh, I started with how you ordered it in the emails and how you ordered it in the thing.
You can't trust this. You can't. Yeah, I numbered them.
Okay.
Can you sort by name?
All right, we're going to do reverse order. Non-subscriber first. Lord, hit the subscribe button. Come on, let's go. All right. What are your thoughts here?
Are we backing up?
Are we backing up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, screw it. We're going. Okay, fine. We're going to make Lord wait a little bit here. So, Justin, that's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll let you take it.
Okay. Justin, I don't personally understand the reason why they went with Heaven's Word material. Does Square Enix not like Stormblood?
I have to easily think that as they roll out additions to this relic, that they're going to just kind of go expansion to zone. And the reason why they started with Heaven's Word theory here is we just got flying in the ARR zones. I think they wanted to put a little love back into some activity within Heaven's Word, making those zones feel very active for all the free trial players who are running around those zones, and all of a sudden seeing waves of people farming in the open world. It is thrilling for me to see, because I was just out there the other day finishing it off. One of the really cool things that as I was testing out my Dancer and Bard controller guides was the fact that I was putting myself into high-end content, queuing as a DPS, and all of a sudden there is a thing I can go and do that's going to reward me with a thing that I know is guaranteed as long as I finish the fate. The only annoying thing about the whole process is if my duty pops and I can't finish the fate because I know I'm going to get a guaranteed item. But long story short, it does push me back into the content, and there was lots of people out there still running around. My hope is that that's something that just continues to exist. Chris, you look like you got a thought.
No, I like that you're excited about that. I think it's fun to be out in zones, especially because it invites things like Blue Mage to join in,
And Blue
which
Mage
just
Rex.
creates wicked fun because like the level of balance it has to have with the battle classes are zero, so it can just do things that other classes can't. I was actually a little bit shocked that they didn't go all the way back to ARR with it
Mhm.
because we're probably going to get 3 Boja zones total, 3 sets of Boja content, right? And would be my guess. I don't know. Who knows? They could start dropping them once a week. But like then we could do ARR Heavensward Stormblood because I assume we're going to end on Stormblood because the story of Boja takes us more back to Stormblood than anywhere else.
Hmm.
So I
The-
thought we would build to Stormblood. I don't think they're saying they don't like it. I think they would end on that note.
So yeah, because that would make sense because it wouldn't seem to fit that they would take us into the Shadowbringers zones because
No.
essentially it doesn't. I mean, that would be nuts. Like
Plus,
it'd
they
be
have
like,
bicolor gemstones, so there's no reason to favor that content. It's already been given love.
all right, so that's interesting. But yeah, like I don't think it's that they dislike Stormblood. I think that overall, like it's they want to focus in on like rather than sitting here and say all zones are viable and then you take a population and thin them out a little bit. What they've done is they've kind of just focused everybody. And honestly, I really enjoy it. I like how it's balanced, and even some people in the comments that I've been talking with have said that even if you get a really good formed group for Boja, you can actually farm up the items faster than you can doing the fate farm because the fate you get it at the end, and then with the relics, like any kind of enemy can drop that. So if you're doing big pulls, basically you're just buying more lottery tickets, and it can pay off faster than essentially the guaranteed after whatever that period of time fighting that boss or those group of ads happen to play. I love the options. I love the options. It's easy. That really kind of speaks to me. All right. Icon Dawnshire says, I'd rather have my relic upgraded in every expansion instead of a whole new relic. What do you think, Chris?
So I think we've kind of seen that. We had that trade in once where you got to like skip a step if you had a relic, and if you didn't, it was like build yours or bring one to me. So I did like that it kind of paid that homage to it, especially as we start to have a stronger glamour dresser and stuff where you could maybe save previous iterations of a relic and then you get all of them, but they're only tied to like one item. If they have that technology available.
We have the technology.
So I do like this idea. I will say that from like a new player standpoint, it's nice to not feel left out. So they either have to create this on-ramp that cheapens what you have, or they have to leave the new player behind, where they have an opportunity to go another direction with this and not worry about taking the power back is with the crafting and gathering stuff. If a crafting and gathering relic comes into the game and its final form adds something like 5% high quality chance or something like that, you could just leave that on the weapon and then they could just go build steps on, and your weapon could just be this amalgamation of whichever ones you do. And so here we could be in 10.0 and it's like, oh, I have the 10.0 buff and the 5.0 buff and the 8.0 buff, and they're all just stacking on top of each other because you don't have to balance that content against something like a trial fight.
I go back and forth because I totally agree with Icon here. Like I wish that the relic that I got, or like that would make that valuable, saying, hey, from you get a relic and you can keep investing in it and and then the question is then how do you on-road other people who are coming into 6.0 and 7. Like how do you onboard them? And honestly, it comes down to, well, I don't see this happening, but it just like pie in the sky, like Brian's wish list thing, is that if weapons and things had perks and traits in which that it's all about kind of trying to have that that would actually impact your build in certain ways. And even if it, like, I know we have this curated raid experience, and so outside of that, you could even from just a coding perspective say, all right, your relic out in certain content, has a debuff that basically like says, all right, we're gonna just treat it like a weapon. Otherwise, it becomes something that's required to do things, and that's where I think the game design and Yoshi P has protected that. He's kept those raids sacred, so it's not like, oh, you have to go grind out thousands of hours of relic stuff, which ultimately you would find only the hardest core of people interested in, and then everybody else kind of thinking like, hey, this content isn't for me. However, on the same flip side, it would be interesting is that if every expansion there was a new relic starting point and you can keep using that. I like imagine if I was still using a Heavensward relic that I've invested in that I like the look of, and it's not just aesthetically. I could feed it items that would continue leveling it up, keeping it its pace, so that as a player I have the choice whether I want to start down a new path that comes at a certain point in the story or more. But all in all, like, this is just hypothetical pie in the sky stuff. I do agree with, like, I wish that I like knew that I could the effort that I put in getting the relic today or anything, like, it would pay off in the long run, but it doesn't. And that's also a plus. There's also a good side of that too, being able to step away from the game and not feel like you can't return to the game. Like, there's so many little things at play. Like, you want your time rewarded, but if you ever do decide to step away, you don't want to be punished when coming back. You don't want to make this mountain out of just this artificial grind just to get kind of caught up and things like that. So it is a hard question, because I literally go back and forth
Right.
in my answer. All right, hit the next comment.
Avalon Kara. It made 0 sense to get a level 80 in-game weapon by doing level 60 content. It's just not challenging to a level 80 anymore.
Well, you do have, they level sync you, and the dungeons themselves, are level sync, but she's 100% right. Like, we blast down that content fast. Like, one of the things that I noticed immediately when Shadowbringers dropped was just how everything prior to Shadowbringers was just felt broken in terms of ease. And maybe it would be different if you were like a four-man party, never done the content, so you don't have an idea of the mechanics. But when you're not getting hit by any mechanics, when your gear is just powerful and like you're just hot knife buttering it up, and that's where, like, farming the glow piece of it is so fast. Like, it's like an 8-minute run and 9-minute run on certain dungeons, and then you're like, yep, that was great, got that done. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, like, part of it's just that the content has to be balanced so that you and maybe a friend can clear the fate, and it scales a little bit as more people join, but they don't want to scale it perfectly, because then what happens is you and your friend are pretty well geared, you're going to go grind some fates, and then some weak guy comes along and goes, oh, there's a big fight going on, I should join in. And then things get harder because they're below the average, and so it's scaling to 3 people, but they don't really have the gear to make up a full person worth of damage. Actually feels like it gets harder as weak people join. And so you don't want to do that. You want it to always feel like it gets at least a little easier when people join, up to possibly a lot easier if they're, like, really amazingly geared. And so I think that's right, and that all works great until 50 people show up. And so, like, when we were doing fates at the beginning of Shadowbringers, they felt silly. When we were out doing bicolor gemstones with groups of 8 or 2 groups of 8 or things like that, it got pretty broken pretty fast. And then you throw a couple blue mages in on the mix who are just beautifully not balanced. This feels silly even with level sync, but, like, that's not necessarily level sync's fault. As for it feeling 0 cents to get a level end game weapon, the relic is not always your best in slot. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of patch cycles during the expansion, there either is not a relic or there is a better weapon available from some super high-end content, unless I'm just misremembering that.
The only time that the relic becomes best in slot or the best weapon has been the last patch of the last, like, patch, meaning like 5.5 or 5.6, where it's like, hey, now you can actually have that and it's complete, and that's going to carry you way forward. The exception being, and the thing that's going to be interesting here, is the ultimate weapon now, because ultimate weapon will be tied into the last patch, so it's balanced around that gear level as opposed to getting it in the summer and then the next one coming with 6.0. So it's
possible it's never the best in slot.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, honestly, like I like how the relics are, and I'm looking forward to continuing to invest in mine. Especially, I think the ease and the flexibility of this relic has made it far more enjoyable for me as a player, because I can go and make progress if I have a couple of minutes, or I can make a lot of progress.
Absolutely.
And I could go about it, and I have a lot of choice, and I really appreciate choice. If you guys are new here, I like options as a player.
Even if you're just going to pick what they intended anyway, right? Like, they said, we hope you do the Boja content. Yeah. And I was like, well, I appreciate that there's going to be an option if I don't like it. And that took the pressure off of feeling like I'm in here because I have to be. Right. And it let me just enjoy it for being it. Ricero. people seem to forget they are still unfinished. The grind factor will probably turn up a few notches come the next 2 iterations of Bozja. Remember, Eureka was 4 zones. At least at the very least, we will be getting more in some form or fashion. If all the feedback they are getting is this is too easy, it takes no time at all, you best believe it will take longer in the next step, or perhaps the last step. Enjoy a light grind for now. Collect a few relics. If you want, collect them all. The next step will not be this fast. It's still unfinished, people. Be patient. The next step will be fun. Please look forward to it. This feels like it could have been sent from Yoshi P himself.
he's incognito.
Rise to Row is his online handle. We appreciate you subscribing.
Yeah, and only 44 people have like found him and followed in that regards.
They're all devs.
All right, so it's interesting because a couple points that brings up the concept of 4 zones. I believe that there would be 4 Bozja zones, and I'm wondering if they're going to just like double up, or if we're going to get like it back to back to back. We know that in 5.4 we're getting more Bozja. 5.5, okay, 5.5. That's 3. Are we only getting feeling that Bozja was late? We knew that Eureka was late traditionally, and it's so weird because I guess not traditionally anymore. But prior to Stormblood, the relic actually started in the 0.1 patch. 0.15 is when relic started. In Stormblood, it started in the 2.5 patch. Here it's the 0.35 patch. So if we get 4 zones in this regard, so that's going to be fascinating to see if they just kind of double up. All of a sudden, it's like, hey guys, we just boom, 2 new zones, go nuts. Honestly, that'd be kind of cool too. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Or
what if they stagger them? One with the 0.0 and one with the 0.5.
That'd be so cool. Like honestly, that'd be great. I would think around in the 5 series, not in the 4. Like do your 1, and then the 5 series you have in the like sometime early in the 5, and then sometime towards more the end of the 5. Because it's 5. The 5 patch lasts usually about 6 months. Like the 5 one's the long one leading up to the expansion. So it's like that would be really cool. That'd be really cool. That would give a lot of players who are returning and more things to do. So that'll be interesting. Yes, we still have a grind. I think that's one of the points I made. It's like honestly, rather than weed people out right at the start, like you could end up making it a little bit, a little bit more as you've already got that sunken cost, as you already like, yeah, I've already finished a relic. Like, yeah, okay, well, it just is like more things for you to do, especially, in different times. But I'm not really concerned. I like how it's paced. I like how it feels. And the fact that I'm just kind of going and collecting them like it. And I've got multiple things I'm working on. I really am quite pleased with just the sheer amount of options I have on the table. And I can't wait to see and hopefully what other new options they bring into play, down the road. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know there's more zones. We don't know how many, so don't set your expectations around there have to be 4. The current trend for relics is to be late. So we will only get 2 more relics because the next relic will come in 0.45, and then the next relic will come in 0.55 of that expansion, and it will only be a 1-step relic. Like if late is the trend, we only got 2 more until they can't introduce relics late anymore, because we'll run out of patches.
Yeah.
So like late is the trend. As a result, all we know is that they're harder. Like all we know is that they tend to pile more on. The systems tend to feel more fleshed out. This one feels fairly fleshed out from the get-go, which is really exciting. The fact that it feels like it has stuff to take on Eureka, and they're like, oh no, the Baldesian Arsenal piece is not in yet. Hastrum and all these critical engagements was just like something to tide you over. Like that's a heck of an appetizer. So it's interesting to think that there's still like bigger pieces of this coming. There's still bigger pieces of how this is meant to feel that have not been introduced yet.
Yeah.
So if they want it to be grindy, they could literally just be using all of this to invite us in. We've made the first step really fun, really easy. If you just want to lightly touch on it, that's fine. And then the next time you're not feeling like you're running into a grind while learning. The next one can be a grind with systems we already know. I don't think that just unlocking your relic for the sake of unlocking your relic should be hard. There's people that just want it cosmetically. I just want a relic. And it's really nice to know that it's not that many fates if we decide to come back 2 expansions from now and grind up a relic from Shadowbringers.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Majui Tome says there are 17 relics, so I do not see the relics actually being too grindy anymore. What we got for this step is just perfect. And that's, I think, the best part about this is that I got my white mage, I'm working on my glowy. Now I'm working on another job. And, it's like I've got all of these like irons in the fire, and they're all making a little bit of progress. And that's actually one of the things I really appreciate about the poetic step is that I've been putting out the controller guides, just released Dancer. I'm hoping to have Bard out for y'all this weekend. And one of the things I've been doing as a part of just testing it is like, oh, I need poems. I'm close. Let me go ahead and grind out some poems. Let me just test it in a wide range of content. Synced content, unsynced level 80 content, and getting poems. Oh, guess what? By the way, got a new relic. Boom, like ready to rock and roll. So it kind of feeds that grind and that mindset that I've really I find enjoyable with the experience overall. So yeah, there's a lot, and that's where I've oddly enough been getting the relics for every job. At least right now, the 485 one. And then the question is, like, as I continue to play, as long as it's feeding me those other items, yeah, I'm probably at the end of the day going to have a handful of relics that are going to be close to whenever they ask me to really invest. Like, all right, Brian, you need to, like, this is going to be some real grindy content. What do you think, Chris?
I think 17 is a number that many people aren't going to go after.
Right.
I think they're not going to be interested in the melee jobs, or they're not going to be interested in crafters, or they're not going to, and the beauty of that is that there is so much choice here. So the total amount of content, if it's just somebody who plays a lot, the total amount of content is huge. But that also means for the casual player that if you just take off the parts you don't care about, right? Maybe I only care about 1 or 2 crafters and my healers. Well, then there's still plenty left over. So as for it being a grind, go get your gear, go farm Castrum for coins, or start unlocking all 17 relics. That's a grind. That is still a grind, because anything times 17 or anything times, what are those things cost? 1,000? Anything times to get to 1,000 of anything is just expensive. Those coins don't drop fast enough for it to be like, oh, I'll just get a relic every hour. It's like, no. You're going to have to get after it if you want a set of that gear. Black Star. This is actually good for people who work 10 to 12 hours a day. I'm glad they made it easier.
I really feel like for you working 10 to 12 hours a day, that's what I've been pulling. It feels like this October, and yesterday was no exception to that. So, yeah, being able to pop in and knock out a few things and pop out like within like a 15-minute window for lunch is awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they've made the critical engagements pop up almost constantly. So even like Eureka didn't even feel like it was worth popping into for just 20 minutes, but you could actually probably get into a critical engagement if you really only had 20 minutes, or, you could at least do a couple skirmishes. So like it's fairly active. It's kind of like a big fireworks show that's going on all the time. When I watched Zepla's reaction video, she talked about not being able to do giveaways during, because like there was all these people interested, and so they're supporting her channel. And if you haven't seen her over on Twitch, when she there's all these different giveaways and stuff that'll pop up on her stream from time to time, and so all this excitement generated giveaways, and then she couldn't do the giveaways because it's like, okay, I'll just get out of this thing real quick. Oh, well, then I have to go do this thing real quick. Okay, well, it's time to go do this real quick. And like there's just this constant wave. And she said that like she was expecting to be more like Eureka, which Eureka was much more of like, for streaming content, Eureka was a lot more of like, let's sit down, let's chat, let me get to know you guys, because I've got downtime. I know that when I streamed Eureka, I was playing Eureka while leveling fishing in WoW, which is another inactive thing, and I was doing fishing raids in WoW. They're a little different than the new fishing raids in 14. And at the same time, to keep me busy, anytime chat wasn't super active, I was playing a Pokemon Switch game, and I had all 3 on my screen. And it's like, this is ridiculous that I have time to do all these. You do not have that in Boja. So like, I love that for people who don't get to play very much, because that inactiveness doesn't feel like it's worth doing if you don't have very long to hop on. Jonathan, relics were never difficult beyond the ARR relic because they involved primarily fights. Everything after that was just a time sink. Now Shadowbringer's relics have significantly reduced the amount of time it takes to get the relic. This benefits those players like myself who are aiming to get every relic, and it's feasible with someone on my time budget.
Yes, and that's actually great that I think it's a reasonable, and I say reasonable in quotations, because like for everybody, you don't have to do it. But if all of a sudden this became like, hey, wow, like this is just the fact that, again, you're checking multiple boxes passively. Oh, you got poetics. All right, well, I can go get another relic. Like, okay, cool. Like, all of a sudden you might be like, well, if I actually really did focus in on this as a choice, then this might be something I could do. And what a cool, interesting achievement, even if you don't get an achievement point, and that's what I love about it. So that's Jonathan, I think and that's right. The other side of it is that, I don't know if they were never made to be difficult, right? Like I've done and I've tried other previous relics. They were meant to be very time consuming and grindy. And I just think that overall, like when you look at the decisions that were made, I think a decision ended up making them difficult. Like the fact that you had to go and be in Eureka, that there's no other option, etc., ended up making that difficult. It really ended up segmenting the community to a certain degree. And that's just from my experience with it, because if I had 3 hours, Eureka was great, but if I didn't, I never felt like I was actually doing anything active. And they made changes over the course of time, but at that point, I was already back and playing Final Fantasy XI. It was like, okay, like it wasn't ready, and that was really unfortunate, and really that was my biggest concern going into this expansion. Like, how are they going to do the relic? Because if it's not ready, like if the content isn't ready until a couple of patches later, like what's going on? But anyway, that's just my thoughts there.
I mean, I've always thought of them as the alternative way to get relatively good gear.
Okay.
These only be weapons compared to something that was more mechanically skilled. So things like Ultimate, things like Savage, things like that. I always have thought of it, if you had to balance the amount of time it'll take to clear content, and you had to balance the amount of like focus and skill you're going to have to play at. Ultimate is not something people get down on their first try, but the amount of time versus the amount of skill, I think of the skill as way higher. Okay. Because if your skill's not high enough, you will never clear it. It's not an issue of time. You could throw your face against it for 5,000 hours. It'll never go down. It's a skill first, time second. But I've always thought of Relic as time first, skill second, because if your skill isn't there, especially like Heavensward and forward, like it's always been like, yeah, I mean, maybe you're not super good at getting in on the trains and following the trains or going out and clearing the fates, and your DPS rotation's a little lacking. But if you throw your face at this long enough, you will get a relic. So it's time first, and then skill simply just speeds things along and makes the process a little bit more enjoyable. And so removing the time benefit is actually a theme of Shadowbringers. They like removing anything that's been scaled where the skill level is relatively low, but the time is high, getting your crafters leveled up, getting your gatherers leveled up. That 1 to 50 grind on both of those was obnoxious. After that, honestly, it got really easy. So it wasn't about balancing end game content. It was getting people over that 1 to 50 hump.
Now it feels like the 71. Everybody that I've talked to, they're like, I'm just trying to get this job to 71 so I can do Boja. And I just wish that they would have said, like, yeah, 50 plus, who cares? Like, it's got the scaling that puts you as an 80. It's a great way to test out the job. It would be something, that would be the one change that I would make, is just let people in. Hell, even make it level 30 or something. I don't know. Like, just let people into this content, especially as it increases and more people come and play the game. But man, I guess it'd be difficult because of the free trial. Like at some point there's a cutoff there, but hell, like put people in the free trial into this content. You might get more converts. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they made crafting and gathering easier. They made tanking easier. Now you just click a button and you're immediately like, you have all the immunity. So like, how do I get to the top of the immunity table? Well, did you click the put me at the top of the immunity table button? So like they've made the barrier to things so much easier as a theme in Shadowbringers, and removing time sinks has been the way they've done it, right? The way they increase the new player experience is they just removed fetch quests from ARR. That's really all they did. Yeah. Just time sinks. So it makes sense to me that the relic grind would be in with that Shadowbringers theme of let's stop taking people's time.
All right. Now we're finally to the start and the end.
All right. No, we don't need more ridiculous grinds like in the past. Next question. This is why this was the last comment, because my question is, why aren't you subscribed, Hawkeye? Like, come on. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to start doing videos just for one subscriber at a time. Yeah. Just one at a time.
That's how we do it. That's what we did this always for anyway. Like, oh, you want a guide? Like, okay, this is for John. Hi, John. There you go. Oh, thanks, guys. This is great. And then other people seem to like it. So that's always kind of fun. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the obviously community feedback. We love doing these aspects. I'm glad. I think we even kind of stacked the board a little bit with maybe one or more. But also, you all have your suggestions for topics have been just phenomenal. I think even just yesterday, someone was like, you was talking about one of the topics that was theirs, and so that it actually rolled, and we did the video on it. So that was it's really exciting to see and have this level of engagement with you guys as we barrel into November, in which that there's going to be lots of crazy stuff that we'll be talking about. I'm personally really excited about Beyond Light and Cyberpunk, and I've got a video that should be either rolling out at the end of this week or early next for covering a deep dive of the lore, getting you guys ready for 2077. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Chris, you got any final thoughts, any kind of stuff, gaming things that you want to share? Yeah, or are we still keeping that secret?
I've been posting my opinions to stuff as we've started to make for Work to Game more collaborative again, and less of just Brian and I posting separately. So I've been posting my stuff over on Gaming Kinda, so that link will be down in the description below if you just want to see me talk about stuff that comes to my mind in the middle of the day that's about gaming. Kinda. So let's spin that wheel. Oh, wow. That's amazing. It's going to be about World of Warcraft.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not on there.
Yeah, so that's when we want to sit down and kind of...
Reaction
would be good. Reaction.
Oh, it's stuck. It's just
between reaction and news. Don't tease it to the news side, because literally news could break and we'd be like, yeah, we're going to talk about WoW, and then it's like, did you guys hear the news? Sony bought Square Enix, and blah blah blah.
World of Warcraft is delayed its expansion because Final Fantasy XIV and WoW are now going to be the same game.
Yeah, collab extreme.
Jump back and forth.
Just jump in and out.
Just Aetherite will port you right over. World visit.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you feel like we earn it, hit that like button. If you feel like we've also earned your subscription, hit that subscribe button, and let us know if you do in the comments below so we can officially welcome you to the workforce. But for Work to Game, my name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. He just waves. Take care. All right. Bye, everybody.
I missed it. It's weird when it's a delay. So yeah. I was like,
It's like, all right. Well, I'm not editing any of that out. All of this is staying.
We are nothing but professional.
Nothing but the best professionals. See you guys in our next professional video. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.